Just for right now, I know this weather isn't all that great, but what's the appearance here in Sacramento been like for you?
Well, first day yesterday. Obviously, get a win, get the first game out of the way. It was a good start. I think as rehab games go, I mean, you're obviously just trying to get through the game healthy. Feel like you can progress every game that you're here, get a little bit better. Have quality at bats, and ultimately just feel healthy at the end of it. So yesterday was a good start.
Was it hard to believe the moment this happened to you, that coming in the head first slide, like shoulder injury? Did you think it would be as long as as it's been?
No, not really. Probably a week or two after, I kind of started questioning the length of, because initially we had said it was going to be like 4 to 6 weeks, and I'm just trusting the training staff and their experience at that point, and I think it to their credit, it wasn't something that they really had ever seen. Something I think they just said, we'll hope 4 to 6 weeks you're back. And that was a little bit of the frustrating part for me, was like I felt that for 5, 6 weeks, like maybe I should be feeling better than I am right now. But ultimately we just kind of kept pounding away at the same path and finally turned a corner.
And then for you, I mean, you've been through injuries before. I mean, here we are surrounded by a bunch of young guys. How hard can going through even a stretch of 2 months be for a professional baseball player?
It's tough, man. Yesterday I felt like I hadn't played a game in 2 years. It doesn't get any easier the older you get. When you're 25, 26, you can kind of feel like you can come back and jump right back into it and feel like you hadn't really missed a beat. Yesterday was a reminder of how hard this game is, for everybody. And so even though I got a result, the other two at bats I wasn't all that happy with, and I think it's just lets me know I have a little bit longer to go, a few more at bats to feel like I'm comfortable. And but like I said, ultimately, I mean, at the end, you really just want to get through the game healthy. Feel like you can go up to the big leagues and be able to contribute for a 9-inning game, and it definitely takes some build-up.
You kind of touched on it. I mean, what ends up being really the thing that is the biggest challenge? Is it the timing? Is it just the comfort level?
I mean, I think there's a lot, really, probably as a hitter, the timing, just seeing pitches, getting enough at-bats under your belt. And then, yesterday I flew, 15-minute drive from the airport and played a game. And I think that's probably the first time I've flew and played a game on the same day, and God knows how long. I mean, I don't think I've ever done it in the big leagues, and maybe in the minor leagues we did it, long bus ride and played that day. But it was my legs were a little bit heavy. So I think the challenge is just getting to where you feel like your body is healthy enough and strong enough to play, 9 innings.
Yeah, 5 innings yesterday, 7 innings today. Do you have any kind of clarity on maybe what it looks like beyond today?
There was a schedule laid out, but I think ultimately it's just kind of playing it by ear. Go through these 5, 6, 7 innings. Get the at bats, and it's like spring training. In spring, a lot of times we have it mapped out where you're going to get 2 at bats and play 4 innings, and you end up getting 3 and playing less innings, or maybe more, and you just stay in there a little bit longer. So I think it's just going to be kind of a feel thing for me. And just really trying to get some quality reps and feel like I'm healthy.
It's interesting that even in 2 months span, you leave the team and they have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
And here they are. They didn't let go of the rope at all.
No, I mean we've top to bottom. I mean, obviously Farhan, Scott Harris, Cap, our whole staff. They've done an amazing job acquiring players. You look at this AAA team here, and it's probably as deep, especially offensively, as any group I've seen. I mean, we have probably, I don't know the number, but at least 5, 6 guys on this team that have had big league experience this year. It just speaks to the depth, speaks to the ability of guys to be able to come from here to there and contribute and fill in. And obviously, adding Chris Bryant at the deadline has been huge. I mean, even if he had a big game yesterday and he had a home run in his first game, but even if a guy doesn't step in and set the world on fire, the morale boost that you get from adding a player like Chris's caliber, it if you were in the clubhouse, you'd see it. It speaks volumes for guys' mentality coming into the game every day. And Tony Watson is another guy who, he'll fly under the radar like he always has, but for the last 3 years was one of the backbones of our bullpen. So he's another big add. And there's some guys down here that I have no doubt, bullpen guys, starters. Sammy Long's already made an impact up there. Beatty's knocking on the door again. There's a lot of guys down here. We just signed Tyler Chatwood, Matt Shoemaker, guys like that who have a lot of major league experience. Coming down this stretch, we're going to need everybody, and I think that's why we're pretty well set up to be in contention and playing for a World Series, hopefully.
Yeah, and just following up on that, I mean, does it even surprise you just how kind of quickly some of these things have come together? Like you've mentioned, some guys who may be ahead of schedule of where they were, maybe projected to be.
No, it doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I feel like Farhan and Scott and Cap, they have an eye for talent. They have proven track records of being able to see young players coming through the minor leagues and kind of target them. Another guy that I missed who's had a tremendous impact up there is Tyro Estrada. We lost Craw for 10 days there a little while back, and Tyro stepped in. And I mean, nobody's going to be Brandon Crawford, especially what he's doing this year. But he filled in, and it felt like we didn't really miss too big of a beat. And when you lose a guy like Craw, you feel like there's going to be a pretty big void. So he did an amazing job for us there, and that's just the depth, man.
Yeah, and I know 35-year-old you get probably remember some of these being in the minor leagues a little bit, and I know rehab appearances, they're kind of part of it, but does this bring back memories seeing some of these guys here and just what they have to go through?
Yeah, I get reminded more of being in the minor leagues by everything that happens off the field, and Sacramento, from what I've seen very briefly, is a pretty good town to be in. There's some places around the country that are pretty tough to live in and play in, just in terms of what the city has to offer. And maybe not in AAA, but definitely in the lower minor leagues. There's a lot of places that are kind of just in the middle of nowhere, and you're playing in front of a couple thousand fans, and not making great money on top of it. So there's a lot of things. I mean, I went to Walmart today and had to get myself a pillow for the hotel, and just certain things like that kind of bring me back to all the things that I was having to do in the minor leagues, and enjoying every day of it, man. Most of the memories, most of the good memories that you'll make and good friends that you make will start in the minor leagues. Guys that you played with coming all the way up. We have Fernando Perez, who's now one of our video guys in the big leagues, who I came all the way up through the minor leagues to the big leagues with, and we still daily talk about all those memories that we made in the minor leagues. So it's a pretty special time. I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to make it to the big leagues and make memories there. But for a lot of players, you play a lot of years in the minor leagues or a good bit, and those friendships last forever.
Yeah. Final question for you. You've been so great for your time here. Just when you look ahead, I know you guys take it day by day, but what would it mean just to see this team in a first place, playing in the playoffs, looking with championship aspirations that you already do, with the addition of you coming back? Obviously, you got Chris. I mean, just what would it mean just to see this team have that type of success in September, October?
I've played on one other team in 2008 with the Rays that I felt like we were in a pretty similar boat at the beginning of the year. The Dodgers, the Padres made a ton of acquisitions in the offseason and even through the trade deadline. And we've consistently been the underdog, which I think fits this team's mold, fits the mentality, fits, kind of everything that we laid out in spring training. Look, we're not going to be the flashy team. We're not going to be, the team that has, a bunch of superstar players who, are getting talked about in the media every day. But we set out to be, kind of this just bulldog, grindy team. And, through 110 games or whatever it's been, I think we've accomplished everything that we want to accomplish. Obviously, the goal is to play for a World Series, and I think when we do get there, when we get to the postseason, it's this team is built to last. We have three guys. I think Craw, Belt, Posey, have all been there. Know how to win in big situations, and that experience goes a long way. So I like our chances when we get into some do or die games where we got to go out and perform.
Well said. Appreciate talking to you, man. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you.